what I expected for the past 20 years when I needed a headshot. So, and also I think that with my background in acting and being coached and being directed, I can use that to draw forth from the subject, from the client, some really interesting shots as well. Recently, I found that people get quite maybe intimidated, or they're not so enthusiastic about having a headshot, and they come in kind of flat. And well, okay, maybe they're not professional models, so they don't know what it's like to really try to be alive in front of a still camera in a setting that's not a scene or a studio. But the main thing I say is to try to overcome that is to pretend it is a performance, so that when you come into when we start to shoot, or even before we start to shoot, like if you were in theater, you'd be checking out the boards, you'd be doing lines so you can hear how loud you have to project, what the room sounds like. You might be uh, singing a song or dancing or stretching. And all these things I think are really important to do right before or even during a headshot. And so that, it is a performance. It's not simply just sitting there waiting for your picture to be taken and told what to do. I try to create a situation where it's like you're having a reaction shot for a scene, and where you have to communicate non-verbally. And so something is in your head. What's in your head is the story, what the other character has been giving you, and you're reacting to it. And then again, it has to be non-verbally. So, and I often encourage people to, go over the top with your expressions if you need to, because then I can ask you to tone it down. I can ask you to maybe to look a little bit slightly to one side of the camera. I can adjust the light, but you're in the moment. You're actually doing something. You're a performer, and you're not just a passive subject who is waiting, to have their picture taken, and again to be told what to do within the confines of like headshots. Like in headshots, generally, you need to have two types: it's serious and happy, pleasant, smiling, and serious. But there's all these little ranges and little bits of spices that can be added to those shots. And so I think that that's what I enjoy doing with people, and I think they get some really great results from it. I think we'll also be talking tonight about another angle that I'm trying to present, which is to inform the actors that there's other work that they can get besides being an actor. You can try to branch into, if you wish, into lifestyle modeling, print modeling, commercial print. And I like to incorporate those as much as possible into a headshot session. It takes a few adjustments on my end. It's probably a little bit more lively on part of the of the model, the actor, but there's quite a big world out there in modeling, and it's not necessarily fashion modeling; it's product modeling. It's if you're a little bit older, it's generally pharmaceuticals, and this is a good way that you can supplement your income. On Actors Connection, they have a lot of meet the agents from print agencies, and and I can help get your portfolio started, or actually even just pretty much get it completed while doing headshots. So I don't know, Howard, do we have you want to add a few words, or?
I think we're doing good. Do you want me to go ahead and pull up your website right now? We can go ahead, just start some demonstration.
Oh yeah, sure, right, yeah, we can, yeah.
All right, share my screen. Hold on. Make sure it's all up. And then at the end, we just want to also probably leave time for some questions after we go into the
Yeah, of
main
course.
portion of
Yeah,
our lecture. So if
right.
anybody has questions, feel free to hang on to those and we'll do a round of questions at the end. Okay. Going to be able to see my screen in just a second.
Oh, okay. So this is the lifestyle page on my acting site, actor headshot site, and that's fine. You can leave it there.
Okay, perfect.
The crop is a little different because it's. But if you could just stop before you start scrolling, please. If you could go back to the beginning shot with the woman with, is it up there yet?
It just,
did
hold
it
on.
go
So
away?
sorry, it just kicked me out of screen
Yeah,
sharing.
sorry.
Let me restart
Okay,
it.
no problem.
I don't know why I did that.
Well, on that page, on that lifestyle page, I set up an example of what is possible to do in one session while you're getting your headshot. All the various looks that can be added on to that session that would be really good to get you started in commercial print and to start. Yeah, fine, thank you. Like with this gal, we we did a little bit of fashion, but mostly it's commercial print. And then if you move over to the guy in the suit, he works at CESD. And, this is an example. If you move a little bit more, scroll a little bit right there, stop, thank you. Go back and a bit to the left so you get his face. There you go, fine. So anyway, this is a commercial print model.
Oh my
And
goodness. Keeps kicking me out. I don't know why.
because I brought the curse. I always have problems with these
That's okay.
Zoom call.
I'll just keep pushing it
meetings.
back in and out and then hopefully it'll like us eventually.
Yeah, okay, fine. So anyway, it's like we can get this guy a really nice commercial headshot pictures for acting, but at the same time, then bring something that would be, really beneficial to his modeling career. If you can go over to Kyle, and you can see, there's various looks that he gets that really kind of just position him better. And we also got some really good headshots. Kyle is and that's about, these are individual shots, like the lab coat, just trying to be a doctor, and you can just scroll further. It's all the various looks that I thought. This lifestyle might be, this page here might, some of the models in it might just be models and not actors, but the beginning ones were definitely actors. The woman in the white pants does TV commercials as well as commercial print. There might be, yeah, this might be, a lot. So why don't we just go back to the headshot page tab, if you don't mind. So these are some examples of my headshots, which I guess you guys have looked at already. But just try to get some intensity, get some type of mystery, something that like stands out a little bit. Generally about like colors, like this really nice wardrobe on this woman. Generally, I try to stay away from a lot of colors, but I just think it really matches her personality, and it really makes her pop out. There are some people like Barbara here who just know how to like grab the camera, and she's just really a dear woman. I don't know who's next. Yeah, and this is a bit more comic, it's just like, it's an attitude. It's a little crazy. It's, so, it's really important to have a headshot that you can back up with a monologue or a style of acting. So I think that the previous one, he is a comic, so he can really back it up. Yeah, Julian. Yeah. Continue onward. Thank you. Yeah, so sometimes I like to put people in a situation where they can really blend in with like a role they would play. I like to try to make it look as if it's a still on set during shooting. So this is like Law and Order type picture, the young girl, out in a street environment. You can go ahead. Yeah. And this guy, just an amazing look. I don't know how much work he's going to get with the tattoos, which not because they're attractive on him, but I think as we found out with Mike Tyson in the Hangover, I guess he might need to get permission from the tattoo artist to use his work. But nonetheless, this is like, I didn't want to rob him of his personal style, and I think he's like just terrific. So yeah, I could go with it. Just go with what he brought. And then yeah, there's some, what, when I try to add some people, like especially the guy Luigi with the white beard, because I thought my site was getting a little bit too cookie cutter and just an attractive type of demographic, and I wanted to expand it into a little more edgy world. And I think Luigi pretty much, it's like he's not your go-to actor for many shows, but he has a nice look. And again, about styling, I think that often a shirt with a t-shirt under it makes a really attractive presentation. And that's another example of trying to make it look a little more cinematic. Something again, like, I could just see this as a promo for, some LA show. And a little bit more of an environment rather than a studio look, being outdoors. One
You
thing
want
I tell people, if they're shooting outdoors and if they get a little disturbed, nervous because there's people watching or stopping by, or I said, in between takes, just look at your fingernails. So don't look at the people, just look at your fingernails and lift your head up into the camera, and then we'll shoot.
do you want
Yeah,
to talk
that's
a
enough.
little
You
bit
guys.
about the
Mhm.
difference of shooting studio versus, oh, let me stop my screen share. Studio and versus outdoors.
Right. Yeah, I try to do both whenever possible. Outdoors, I actually prefer, but then there's so many difficulties with weather. Generally, when it's below 50 degrees, you always have to be concerned about faces getting red, or if you have longish hair, if it's windy. But I think that especially in New York, there's really being outdoors. I think it's expected, not expected, but really appreciated by casting directors, because there's a lot of there's a lot of scenes that are shot outdoors, and the studio that can work quite well too. It's a much more controlled environment, and it's one-on-one generally. So that's for many people that's very easy to handle. And the problem with outdoors too is often we're just toting around, or I'm toting around my clients' bags, so we could pop in to some friendly cafe to do a quick change, wardrobe change. So it's a bit more. It takes a bit more time, and but it's also a very rewarding way of shooting.
We also had somebody wondering if you could speak a little bit more about hairstyle choices as well as wardrobe.
Yeah, well, I think you have to present yourself the way in your headshot that you would appear in person. So, if you get a real elaborate hair, it's like when you do a casting, you generally should try to match that look. Also, I think, the hair is one thing, but this is the main product. Your hair is, it's definitely an attribute, or can be an attribute. But it's like, very often I just ask the hair to be pulled back just to concentrate on the face. Um, and yeah, sure, we often flip the hair from one side to another. Men, it's pretty much always the same look. Unless they're, well, what it changes with men is often they want to, I suggest it's not a problem to shoot with a beard or 3, 4, 5 day growth and then shave. So you get both approaches, both looks. But I think, also with women, it's like get a hairband, just because it's nice to have a real clean shot. It's really powerful.
And then if you go a little bit into wardrobe as well, choices for what works, what doesn't.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like layers work really well. For example, for both men and, well, for women, let's say if you have like a crop jacket with a shirt with a collar, it's nice, and then maybe there could be some type of t-shirt underneath it. So all these 3 layers can work really well in a photograph. And the same for men. Men, it's, I would just like, for men, I pretty much like, I don't know how important it is to have a suit and tie shot, for your actor headshot. I could see it for a commercial print. But it's, pretty much, even if you're a lawyer, I think it can, if you're going to play a lawyer, you don't really necessarily have to nail the lawyer wardrobe.
And let me just ask a few more prompting questions and then we'll open it up. I was wondering if you could
Okay.
elaborate a little bit more on how you were talking about your headshots and your photography should be seen more like seen. How do you prep that? What kind of mentality should you bring into the shoot for the day? Advice for
Yeah,
that.
well, it's definitely the work you want to do and pursue, what you're trained in. It's like that. Well, it's best to like go try to nail those looks, those roles. Hopefully your brand. Don't ask me so much how to define it. It's like it can be difficult, but especially in a few words, it's very difficult. I was really fortunate. Like 20 years ago, I did a TV commercial for Time magazine, but it was for South America, and I showed it to my acting instructor, and he said, "Wow, it was really good. That was just me." But he goes, "Look what the tagline is: powerful person." He said, "That's your brand." And what so to really just boil it down to 2 words: powerful person. Uh, we kind of we created from that brand my headshot looks, the way I approached monologues or scenes as a powerful person. I'm educated. I'm generally in control of my emotions. I don't have to get angry at people to threaten them. That was for me. So hopefully, all of you out there can, have that handy. And then, the wardrobe, the attitudes are all to support that, support the roles that you want to play. But you can also be goofy too, being a lawyer. I mean, hitmen, love their kids and they joke around. So that can be possible too. But generally, it's nice to have like a little bit more of a complicated look. So rather than just a smile, just to be like, yeah, you're gonna get it. That's why I'm happy. Another thing I like to do too with people is like, I ask them to smile from the nose down. And it sounds ridiculous, and it's funny, but like if you look at me, I have small eyes, unfortunately. But if I smile with a big traditional cheery smile, my cheeks get big, and then my eyes get small. So I thought of this. Why don't you just smile from the nose down? So you don't engage the cheeks, keep the eyes as large as possible. I mean, maybe it looks stupid, but when I'm shooting it and I'm saying it, I don't shoot things that look stupid. it usually works.
Great. One more probing question, then I'll go ahead and open it up. Not probing, but just to talk a little bit more about if anybody's interested in shooting with you in particular, if you want to go ahead, just speak a little bit about your process. Do you use a hair and makeup team? How do you like your actors to prep in advance?
Okay, well, generally I don't use hair and makeup. I don't, for men, it's really not necessary. For women, I can see how it is. But again, I always just say it's a really light makeup. And I've been in the fashion world too, like doing stuff for years. And so I'm not that I'm not a makeup artist, but I generally can tell what looks good and what's excessive. So I generally encourage women to either do it on their own, or maybe before the day of the shoot in the morning, maybe even just go to a salon or a makeup counter and have something done minimally. If not, and this is all to avoid, like the $200 to $225 that most hair and makeup people are going to ask. And I had my rates are $595, including a studio rental. And now there's like I have a $150 off a winter sale. So it's like, I know people are budget conscious, and that's why the hair and makeup can be like really quite an added cost. And then it's also trying to add in a third person schedule. So that can be a bit of a problem. But if you want it, we'll get it. Definitely. I want you to be comfortable. And maybe, I don't charge a lot of money. So maybe it's pretty modest. Yeah, moderate. So maybe you can afford the extra charge for hair and makeup. But I generally, I have not problems, but I understand it can be difficult for people to add that onto the cost. I mentioned fashion. I worked in Europe as a model in the 80s for 4 years when I didn't have hair this color. And then when I turned four, and then I stopped after 4 years all over Europe. And then I lived there. In fact, I didn't live in America. And then in 2000, I wanted to go back and try to, do it all over again, have that proverbial, second chance, second opportunity. I had salt and pepper hair, which became much more fashionable. So I traveled, again, I went to all these places for about another 2 or 3 years. So, like, I think what that brings to my headshots is a sense of style. And also, like, I just think editorial photography is just so beautiful. And I strive for it. And the photographers that I really, really admire are like Peter Lindbergh, who's famous for his black and white shots principally, but even Bruce Weber, who's kind of infamous, unfortunately, but nonetheless, his style is very straightforward. Not a lot of added lights. The shadows, of course, absolutely, but it's kind of simple. And the reason I like to keep it simple is because I don't want people to look at the picture and say, oh, that's something Mark Ray shot. I want people, casting directors, to look at the picture and say, that is you. I can see you playing the role, and not really think about like I don't want to have my style on top of your look. I want your look just being, the main thing, and maybe a little bit of possibility that my style it comes through. One time, this was back in the black and white days, but I asked this one of the models I was working with, hey, give me your headshot, I'll take it to my agent. I took the picture to the agent, I gave it to her, she goes, oh, I already have this girl's picture, let me look for it. Oh, she goes, oh, it's not the same girl, but it's the same photographer. And like, sure enough, like everything was the same. And they were shot like months apart. But that photographer's style kind of, what's the word, homogenized, or, made rob some of the individuality of this person and put his style on top of that. So I just think that's something that I strive for, and I hope you like that.
All right, great. Anything last to add before we go ahead and open it up for questions?
Let's see.
You could always
No.
tangent too if a question leads you into another thought that wasn't brought up.
Okay, sure. Terrific. Yeah.
All right. Got some great information. If you want to go ahead and use the raise hand function, that would be best. And I can just call
Oh,
on
can
you.
I say one thing before
Yeah,
we do the Q&A?
for
And I'm
sure.
happy to do. I just want to say about Actors Connection and how valuable it is, because when I first started there, I mean, I got like, this was back in the soap opera days, but I got contract role. I had one contract role offered to me, and I went for 3 auditions, mainly only based on the fact that I went to the soap opera intensive for a weekend at Actors Connection. And that the casting director said to me, I really liked your work, but I waited a year to contact you because I didn't want to give you an under 5. I wanted for something substantial. That never would have happened to me had I just been sending in headshots and a letter to some casting directors. So I think that's the power of Actors Connection. You can meet these people. I've been in classes with Ellen Parks, and there was some guy she mentioned to me, he's like really good. And like 6 months later, he's in McDonald's commercials speaking. He's in insurance company commercials speaking, and I'm not. Yuck. But nonetheless, I mean, it's a really great organization. And even if you don't get booked, especially for young actors, it's something to provide to write in a letter or a postcard to an agent. Just met Arista Beltronis, did a monologue for at Actors Connection, or had some really good feedback in a class I'm taking with David David Cart, I forget his name, but anyway. So it's really important function, an important experience. It can help you in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so great to hear. And I'm sure very helpful for some of the newer actors in the room. Okay, I think we're ready for this Q&A. I see, is it Cherie or Sherry up first?
Hi, how are you doing?
Very
Thank you.
well, thank you.
Okay, I am the guppy in the pond or in the ocean of this acting and commercial and so on and so forth. So I'm just really getting started, and I wanted to know, I have two. What's the difference between what you just said? What's the difference between getting a speaking part and a non-speaking part in a commercial? And what do you suggest the mood for a person who is just getting started? Like, because I don't necessarily know what my background is or what I would be doing, but what do you
Right.
suggest?
Well, fortunately, what's good about TV commercials is probably 60% or 70% of them, you don't even need to speak. You just have to, drink the coffee or wash the clothes or hug the kid, and you're making principal rate. And it's not, I mean, speaking and acting is quite difficult, but but almost anyone can just walk across a field smiling or riding a bicycle, and then you're the principal. In acting, it's under 5 is basically just like under 5 lines, and so or if you're doing background work, well, first of all, if you're doing background work, you don't need headshots. You can just take them with your cell phone. You don't need to spend any money on that. But if you have aspirations to be to have lines to get a principal role, then yes, you need to have a professional headshot. It's a really important tool. And in terms of individually, you have to go to places like Actors Connection. You have to do monologues, scenes in front of people, and get their guidance. And that's the best tool. One of the best ways. Do theater or do student films, and do the audition process. Good luck.
All right, great
In the
information.
movie, if I'm going to do a headshot, what role would I play? Like, I'm a teacher. I have, I'm a,
You would
I'm a
play
mom.
the roles. You would play the roles that your acting supports and your look supports. So it's not necessarily about your profession.
Okay.
It's the dialogue that you can handle best, in the scenes you can handle best from acting experience. Generally, that's the best way to do it.
All right, great. Awesome. I did forget to mention, let's try to keep questions more general to apply to the group. And then if you have anything more specific, that's more of an individual question, just go ahead and save that. Not that any of that was not specific, just a general rule we like to abide by. Next up on my screen is Imana.
Hi, I'm Imana Rochelle. Thank you for your information, Mark. I had a question. You talked about, like that nonverbal, essentially like that headshot is that nonverbal scene. So
Mhm.
my question is, how do you suggest engaging in that scene, quote unquote, scene nonverbally?
Yeah, well, again, it's a reaction shot. Let's put it that way, right? It's so. I mean, as an actor, I have detailed paragraphs of the way I felt in certain emotional cases, whether I'm happy, sad, angry, lost, scared. So I could kind of like read this and remember how I felt in those situations, and so I can create a range of emotions based on that. We don't have a script when we shoot, but but I wouldn't be opposed to hearing you, to do a monologue from something you really think brings out the best in you. I could say, we could play some games, like you're talking to me, like I think it's a Meisner repeat
Mhm.
process. But yeah, I mean, I'm generally acting more than the people I'm shooting, because I'm trying to show them that I'm not afraid to be a bit clownish or over the top or loud, because I hope that you won't be passive, that you'll be playful, you'll be willing to take a risk. Because one thing I say, it's like as if you were auditioning, no, not auditioning, but improvising with a director. You've already got the part, but you're going to
Mhm.
be in a room with the director sooner or later, whether it's on set or maybe in rehearsal. And they're going to say, like, I don't know, but like, what would you do in this situation? What would your character do? Show me some examples. Or can we tweak it this way? What happens if you punch it at the end with a little bit of anger? So, as an actor, you have to use all these tools, and you can bring that right into the headshot too. I can't shoot you when you're moving your lips, but I might just say, hold that thought, freeze. Can you turn your head a little bit to the right? Stop. And
Okay.
then even if you throw, like, I'm throwing my hands up in the air, but it's like, what? It's like you can do stuff like that because you're alive. It makes you alive, and you could. Hopefully, you'll start having fun when we shoot. And that's always, some headshots sessions or modeling sessions are kind of boring, but I hope to have fun and you
Okay.
can, even if you're even if you're just an actor and you're not a singer or a dancer, you can dance and you can move around the room, physically freeing yourself, so that when you come back and sit down or lean on something, you're just
Mhm.
relaxed. Body language also informs the shot.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. We had some questions dropped to me in the chat, so let me just go over those. Someone asked, what is the recommended color to wear if you're only getting one wardrobe shot? Just recommended colors, I guess, to go over.
I really can't answer that. And you know, it's one. I don't limit anyone to one wardrobe look, so precisely for that reason. And you have to know your color palette, what colors work best with your look, and also to have clothes that you wear and don't wear you. Meaning that sometimes the clothes are so pronounced, have such brilliant colors or confusing patterns and such that you just kind of fade away. But you can bring color. But like people that look like me, it's like the white hair. It's like I'm, I guess, a winter or a cold color palette. You go to a good store and ask the salespeople to recommend some clothes that really bring out your features, and that way you can have a professional, a good store, professional guide you into discovering the clothes that suit you best, the colors that suit you best. But I always I love white and black. It looks quite nice.
We have another wardrobe question. I think this person is asking a little bit about what sort of like to match genres for more theatrical or commercial work, how you would differentiate the wardrobe for those different shots, or like a comedy shot, for instance.
Drama, I mean, theatrical or film, I would just say they're all, the rules don't change. And for comedy, I think it was Laurie Berman or Joe Berman whose seminars I watched. And if you're a comedic actor, it makes sense what she said. It's just like, it's like, you're not a clown, where you have to wear like a ball on your nose and some, crazy collar, big big shoes. It's like you can just if you're a comedy or comedian, your resume can deliver that information, but try to just, you can have some fun in your photo, but it's really not about doing that kind of stuff. That seems pretty amateurish.
Great. Any other questions? Don't be shy. Feel free to raise your hand. We're getting some really good information. And I hope you guys are taking away.
Does anyone have anything like feedback that they have a problem with in terms of things that I've suggested, or disagree with some of the things I've said, or in their opinion differs from mine? I'd be nice to hear.
You can feel free to message that to me, or you can raise your hand, your choice.
And you can feel free to just totally 100% agree with everything that comes out of my mouth.
I will say I've never heard treating, not in a disagreeing way, just a new way of looking at things. I've never heard treating getting your photograph taken as trying to have a scene in mind. It's usually like think of a person or think of a thought, but I think having a scene is a really good way to kind of readjust that mindset.
Yeah, I think when you first started acting, we might not be like Daniel Day-Lewis or Nicole Kidman, but we might love a scene that they do, and we can reenact it, and that's kind of fun, because if what is it, fake it until you feel it, or whatever, or fake it until you make it. It's like you might not have that feeling or any feelings going on in you that are that strong, but you can pretend you do, and even that is really can be beneficial.
Oh, that's great. Kathy, I see you have your hand raised, whether you have a question or a thought about everything we've learned today. Go ahead.
Oh, I just have a question that I would like to ask you, Mr. Mark. Yeah, my question is, if you're like 55 and older, older actress and all, would you wear, just saying a lady, would you wear gray hair for a photo shoot? Or if your hair is like black, and what would you do? That's what I want to know.
You're asking me,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
biased.
Yeah, right.
No, well, gray is really popular, it's terrific. And yeah, well, there's a case where you could do a before and after dye, it's like you could do with the gray, and then like I've done that before, where I mentioned where men have a beard and don't have a beard in the same shoot. Yeah, okay. If you're gonna have your hair dyed, but you want to have a picture with it gray or salt and pepper, I mean, I could say, yeah, we can do an hour session, and then an hour when a few weeks later when you get your hair dyed, and we can work out some kind of agreeable compensation for that. But yeah, gray is not anything to run from these days.
It's all about authenticity now, right?
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
Great. I'm going to drop your website into the chat for everybody. Um, you should be getting a registration email in the next like 28 to 40 or 28, 24 to 48 hours with information, hopefully, of where we can find the recording, if there's anything that you want to go back to, or if you just want to share the resource. And then you'll be getting some of Mark's information if you feel like he was a good fit. Kathy, did you have another question, or was your hand still raised?
Oh, no, I lowered it and I brought it back up. So yes, Mike, this is my other question. What about, like, say, for example, I'm thinking about mainstream, okay? And I know what you're talking about, the cut, but I'm talking about, like, as far as the afro, would you, if you were a lady, and you were doing a headshot, would you go with an afro? Or would you go with a more style that's more straight? Or with your hair, I heard you mention about showing your face, make sure your face is shown, but I'm thinking about, would that limit you, if you did wear your hair in a natural style as opposed to, well, like I'm saying afro or like braids, as opposed to more traditional straight curly style?
Well, it's really difficult to answer without seeing a picture. And and again, remember, we're talking a headshot, we're not talking a scene in a film. We're talking about, people might not really be so interested in your hair. They want to see your eyes, they want to see some type of expression. So if they see a lot of big hair and a lot of distractions, it might not be the best approach to getting a headshot. And it might also, that's like, well, yeah, maybe it then limits you for your certain roles. So, but one thing I want to say is you have a great voice. It really sounds nice. A little bit of an
Thank
accent
you.
somewhere. It's terrific. Yeah, but you send me an email and with your look, and then I can shoot you back some feedback.
I will. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Anyone could do that.
All right, Leo, I see your hand is raised as well.
Hey, Leo.
Thank you, Kyra, and thank you so much, Mark, for all of your information. This has been really helpful. I've been headshots have always been like a weird issue for me and other actors because it's always like awkward in the moment. So I really love the idea of approaching it as a performance, and it kind of helps us get a little bit of that control back and know like the guidance for me, because I've gotten a lot of like notes where it's kind of like I have dead eyes, and I feel like with approaching it as like a performance and with the role, with my brand and everything, I feel like that will help me kind of get out of that. So I was going to ask you if you had any recommendations for like practicing before you're going into the shoot. Like, is there anything that you'd like recommend for like prepare, like, I guess, well, I'm not really sure it's preparation, but like practicing maybe, because like you said, like you're willing to play if someone has a monologue and then you'll have them pause. So do you recommend actors maybe like pause in between just so that they can practice being in that moment or holding on to that thought? Yeah.
Well, when you come into the shoot, you know, I mean, it's just again like you, as if you were about to go on stage,
Right.
or do a rehearsal. You know, you would warm up somehow. So
Mm.
I would do that.
Okay.
And fortunately, you're like one-on-one with me, so it's not like the audience can hear you. You can sing, you could dance, you could stretch, you could jump, you can shout, and there you go. You're fully alive, and you could do a scene. If you want to give me a sheet where I I can do the character with, if you want to do a scene, I can be the other person in it with you. I can read
It's
it with
awesome
you.
that you're open to that, because I mean,
Yeah, I like to act. So
yeah, and I think a lot of actors were so afraid to give that, like, to make it look more as like a collaboration. We go into headshot sessions, so I think that'd be really awesome.
yeah,
And are you
you're a performer. You're
located
a
at?
performer. Remember that. You're a performer.
Yeah.
And you've trained, and you know how to do this better than you think,
Yeah.
and perform. So just come in, and be the performer, and you're sitting or standing, having your picture taken, but you're a performer. And
Mhm.
again, it's a reaction shot. What's going on before? I might describe a scene, what's happening. Yeah,
Right.
I'm getting kind of excited now, but okay, let's see. Make it kind of gentle, and it's like, you've got a secret for your loved one, and it's behind your back, and they're gonna love it, and they don't know what it is, and you're just like, you've got a secret, and
Mm,
you can do all kinds of scenarios like that.
yeah.
So maybe if you want, I wouldn't say practice, but I would write down like little scenarios like that, like what hand, guess what's in my hand, and it's an engagement ring, but it's that moment before,
Yeah.
or
Are you
or
are
they're
you
giving
located in Atlanta? I'm so sorry to interrupt. Are you located in Atlanta?
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Okay.
located in the Upper West Side in New York City.
Okay. That's fine. I had to book a flight.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm here. You know where to find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Sure thing, Leo. Yeah, and let me know how your career's going. Send me an email. It's on my
Absolutely.
way.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome. And you guys will get Mark's email with that registration thank you email. Any final questions? Are we feeling like we've gotten a lot of information today? Any final thoughts you have, Mark?
Well, yeah, I get a little self-promotion in addition to headshots.
Absolutely.
In this, it's it's some encouragement for you, well, to not just wait to have someone hire you to give you employment, for you, to always be like, waiting for others. It's like create your own um acting experiences, whether it's seeing on YouTube, try to start something regular, so where you're employing yourself, and broadening your resume. I had a particular I was in a particular situation in life a few 10 years ago, whatever, and a buddy and I made a documentary about it. And I mean, it was a really good story. The documentary is very good, but my story was gold. And the movie played all around the world. And you might not like it, the movie, but the fact that two men made it with no crew, no experience, and no money, but yet, it's within a week of it being released, I was on The View for for an interview, film festivals around the world. I spent a month in Japan with it. So like, you can create, even if you don't like the film, the fact that we made it, could maybe gives you some inspiration. And I'm the protagonist, and it's I was sleeping on a rooftop in the East Village of New York City for 6 years, from the time I was about 47 until 52, 53. And while I was doing that, I was also working as a fashion photographer, at New York Fashion Week covering 300 shows. I was also doing background work. I was modeling at the same time. I was pulling this all off while not having a roof over my head. And the name of the film, it's a play on the word homeless, and it's two words though. The first word is the French word for man, homme, Homme, new word LESS. It's free on Tubi right now. So again, that's guerrilla filmmaking, and maybe you folks can do something with the stories of in your lives.
I'm gonna drop that title in the chat. Let me know if that's spelled correctly.
No, it's HOMME.
Got you. But 2 words, right? And then
Yeah.
less. Great.
That's correct. Less, yeah. And when it played in London, The Guardian gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It came out in similar time to when Frances McDormand's film came out that won Oscars. In similar themes, but ours was first.
Oh, I'm muted.
So I
Amazing.
guess you're done, right?
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Any final questions before we
How about
wrap
this? How
up?
about this? Can someone mention some bad experiences they've had having a headshot done? Like they want to share some horror stories, or like one photographer just totally bullshitted me when I looked at these pictures, and I said, "What?" No, it's the floating head look. I said, "What do you mean the floating head look?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, it looks like my head's like kind of drifting around because I'm wearing a black turtleneck and you got a black background, and it's like there's no body."
I think Kathy's got
I
a
bought it.
story.
Okay, yeah, I have a story. I just had I had some headshots done, but once I got them, you could see the ring light in my eyes. It's like, what the heck is going on around here?
Oh, well,
So
that's not that bad though. Actually, they're called ring lights, right? But a catch light. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, what's his name? That guy, Peter Hurley. I mean, he charges like $2,000 for headshots, and he's got those ring lights. And not only does he charge that much, you have to pay $200 to get a picture. So you pay $2,000 or $1,500 for the session, and then for each picture.